When you're asked to find the limit of an equation, option one every single time, no matter what, is always the same. Option one is always going to be to plug in that x value for all the x's in the equation and see what you get out. And so here I would plug it in. I'd get 8 squared minus 6 times 8, plugging in 8 everywhere I see an x in this equation. And what you're going to see here is on the top, if you plug that in, you'll get 0. But more importantly, on the bottom, you will get 0. Division by 0 is the biggest no-no in all of math. And so what we just had happen right there is basically option 1 has failed us. And so now we go looking at this and seeing what other options we have. When you've got a couple of quadratic equations, a couple of equations with some squareds going on top and bottom, like we see here, very often the next method you want to try, option 2, is going to be a factor and cancel situation. And so this is where your factoring skills are really going to come in handy. And so we're trying to break this up into the top and the bottom here, both of them getting factored. So on the top, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 16 and then add to give me negative 6. And so in that situation, I'd be looking at negative 8 and positive 2. So we would get x minus 8 and x plus 2. You know, if factoring isn't your thing, you better make it your thing before this test. And I've got other videos you can watch later on about how to factor better. From here, we're doing the same thing on the bottom. We want to know what multiplies to give us negative 72, and then there's an unwritten 1 in front of that x, so then what adds to a positive 1. And so then from there, we'd be looking at a negative 8 and a 9. Oftentimes when you're doing this type of factor and cancel, you want to sort of lean towards the fact that one of these answers on the top is probably going to cancel out with one of the ones on the bottom. So you can kind of use some of the numbers to sort of narrow down your options. So that'll be x minus 8, x plus 9 on the bottom. So that's the factoring part of the factor and cancel. And now that we've factored and things are being multiplied, we can see real easy that x minus 8 is going to cancel out with x minus 8. So we cancel that out and we keep the limit coming. Make sure you keep this limit statement coming with you as you go through the problem. Until you actually plug in a value for x, you need that limit statement up in the front, or else they definitely will ding you a couple of points there. Once we do the factor and cancel, it's really back to option 1 again. So option 1 is really what you're always hoping to get back to. So now when we do option 1, we're going to take 8 and we're going to plug it in for x in this equation. So now that I'm plugging in an x, I can drop that limit. So I get 8 plus 2 over 8 plus 9. And out of there, that's going to get me 10 over 17. And so that is my answer. That is a y value. So as x approaches 8, my equation here approaches a y value of 10 over 17.